Hey everyone, this is a quick look at the LEGO Star Wars Microfighters version of Krennic's Imperial Shuttle. A tiny little thing, as all of them are, with a single figure included. It is able to shoot because it has two stud shooters that are built onto the wings. And the overall shaping, I think, is pretty good. It does stand on its own like this. It doesn't require any clear stands to stay in a flight kind of pose on your desk or on a shelf or something, which is an improvement over the main model. The stud shooters are here mounted to brackets that are on the underside of the thing. The brackets are in gray, adds just a little bit of kind of just something different, so it's not all completely plain black, and they have a little bit of window in the front done in red. They also have kind of a wind screen for the flight area directly in front of the pilot, but there's not much to it, is there? Not much at all. I think the nicest thing about this in terms of how it's built is the vertical fin. It's attached in a way that is pretty clever, makes a lot of sense, and works pretty well. You kind of get the pyramid shape. You know, it kind of comes across better when you remove the figure, so you can see all of that up the front, how that line just continues straight up on either side. So that's done pretty well, but the figure when it's in there really does stick out quite a lot. Now you are able to fold the wings up to put it into a landing or landed mode. You can either bring them in a little extra like this so they come together towards the top and there's still enough room for the figure to fit there like that, or you can let them just stay kind of vertical, a little bit more regal with their alignment. These are kind of the faux cannons, you know, laser cannons at the tips of the wings. Nice use of those fairly new pieces. I think that's a good technique, but you know, when it's like this, the stubbiness of the wings becomes even more apparent relative to the real thing. Now, obviously, I don't have the real thing to compare this to, as you know, it's Star Wars. It's make pretend, so it's computer generated models, maybe some movie props, but at least I have the full-sized Lego model, well, the larger Lego model to compare it to. They look good next to each other, I have to say, especially in landed mode. You know, it's very difficult to get this thing to pose. You know, you have to have a tall stand to get it to pose with the wings down. It's much easier with this one, but for what it's worth, there it is. That's your comparison between the two scales that they've made so far. Maybe they should make something in between these two. I don't know. The figure here is billed as Imperial Shuttle Pilot, and he looked really familiar to me. So I looked through my collection of Star Wars figures that I've actually kept, and I found something very similar, remarkably similar, because it uses most of the same pieces. It's this guy. He was the pilot of the Microfighters Star Destroyer, and he was billed as Imperial Crew there. He just has a different hat. So this guy on the right is the first time they've actually given that exact configuration with these prints, including the printed hat piece. And this does still have the print around the back, no alternate face, so there's nothing hidden on this one. You know, pretty straightforward, but very usable stuff. You know, it can be put into other different roles. Don't forget the eyebrows. Cool. Well, this isn't one of my favorite Microfighters to date, and I don't think it's gonna be a huge seller relative to the others, mostly because I think Krennic's Shuttle itself is not of that great interest to fans of the franchise. You know, it didn't have that much of a part, and felt like it just didn't have that much impact on screen. I think the Microfighter itself is done well for what it is, but I do wish the pilot was kind of embedded down into the thing just a little bit lower. I think that would have made it much better, to where maybe the windshield came up to around his neck level. But that's all I have to say about this one. Let me know what you think about it. If you'd like to, leave a comment down below, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching.